It's all right. Let's see. We're going to get started in just a moment. Okay. Well, let's get started. I won't go over any of that other stuff. I will save it for later since we are up against the clock here because I, for some reason, can't stop talking. All right, this is a talk radio show after all. Well, listen, my first guest comes from a background of a licensed family therapist. She is a mother of 3 and a consummate lover of books and the power that writing gives, with such books as The House, Keeper of Secrets, and a newest release coming for soon, season of Perda. Welcome to the show, the one and only Miss Anjuelle Floyd. Welcome, Miss Floyd.
Hi, Clark. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
I got to tell you, Ms. Floyd, the pleasure is all mine. You don't know this, but when I first got started in writing and thinking that I wanted to be an author, and I wrote my book, and I was trying to, figure the whole marketing thing out there, the one name I kept running across, no matter what website I came to, was Anjuelle Floyd.
Oh, my.
Why is her name shows up at every website I go to? I mean, I could go anywhere, and your book was there, or your books at that time. And I said to myself, one day, I don't know, this is even before I had this talk show, I'm going to either meet you at a book fair somewhere or something. And when I as I'm developing this show, I was thinking, man, if I can get her on the show, I know she's out in the West Coast. Sometimes that's a little tricky. It would be a great pleasure. So this is a good night for me.
Well, thank you. It's a good night for me, and thank you for that compliment. In this 21st century of marketing books, as you, I'm sure, know, it's all about being out there on the web. And so thank you for letting me know that what little bit I'm doing worked.
It is working. It most certainly is. Now, you are a family therapist, and a lot about your writing deals with love, emotions, and relationships. Is that from your previous life that you get this from that being a family therapist, that you can kind of be able to create this stuff in your books and your word and your writing?
Yeah, I would say so. But I think as we were taught, when I was getting my master's in psychology, I have both a master's in psychology, being a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's what we call people here in California who've gone back and got their master's and then seen clients with 3,000 hours and taken their boards. But getting my master's in psychology really was a confirmation of where I was, always before, and I think that's the way it is for most therapists. And I also went back and got my MFA in creative writing. I think that being a therapist just kind of gave me the experience of going through and getting the master's, just put me in touch with not only myself, but, just gave me a good understanding of relationships and what I had been feeling all along as a person. I don't think you can teach yourself to be a therapist. I think you, as most of us learn, you're born kind of like a therapist, a caretaker, and you go to school to learn how to use the tools that you've developed over, your life.
It definitely, anybody who reads any of your books can kind of figure out you definitely have a background in something, or you just got a great imagination, one of the two, because you really delve into what relationships, the inner workings of them, the things that we all know but we're scared to talk about. I read your love for books was passed on from your granny, and I'm just curious as to where did she get her passion for the written word?
All I can say is that my grandmother was born in 1895, and she actually went to finishing school. I'm originally from North Carolina, for people that are listening. Although I live in California, I've been living here since 1991. But I was born on a farm in North Carolina down east, and my mother's mother, with whom I spent a lot of time because my father's mother died within months after I was born in 1960. But my mother's mother, as I said, was born in 1895, and unlike most of the women of her day that were privileged enough to go to finishing school and graduated, which she did, she did not go out teaching. She actually met this man that would see her at the train station when she would go home on the weekends. And by the time she completed finishing school, he had persuaded her to get married, and that's what she did. And so I would imagine that she just developed this love of books and reading, because at that time doing finishing school for anyone was, particularly any woman, was really a big thing to accomplish. And I spent a lot of time at her house because my mother went on to become a teacher. And she only lived, my grandmother only lived like 5 miles from my mother. And during the weeks, I would stay with her so my mother could, would have to deal with that. It's the grandma thing, and my mother was out on the farm with my father. And I always remembered this, it was not a huge bookcase. It was huge for me at the time, but it was this bookcase, and beside these French doors that she had in her house. And I just spent a lot of time there. And I have to say that if you could look at my study, which is where I write now, we have 4 walls, and 3 of those walls are covered with books.